everybody, welcome to Collider movie talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Wendy Lee, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is Mark Ellis.
Welcome one and all to the best movie news show in the entire galaxy. My name is Mark, and I'm thrilled you guys are joining us here today on a Thor Ragnarok-tastic morning here for us in the studio. On today's show, the Han Solo movie gets some new characters, Netflix gets a whole lot of movies, and you can't stop mutants from getting a trilogy. Wendy, you're joining me just to the right, and we're both going to see Thor Ragnarok tonight.
Also seeing Thor Ragnarok tonight, John Rocha.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Yeah, let's do this thing. I can't wait. What does it say? Jon Schnepp? That's not me.
It is now.
Wait, I have to be like 10 feet here. Hey, everybody, Jon Schnepp, how's it going? No.
And then I have to be like this. John Rocha. Outlaw.
That's Jon Schnepp over there, by the way. There he is.
I was going to say, will the real Jon Schnepp please stand up, but don't do it.
Absolutely not.
Jon Schnepp actually does stand up during the show. He's not that tall. He's like the guy who worked at a standing desk, and we're all going to be very envious of it. We have a lot of fun stories to get to before the gang here all goes to see Thor Ragnarok tonight. Everybody at this table gets to go check the movie out.
Wait, you can see it.
There it is.
Is that a Loki shirt?
Yeah, Loki shirt.
Ah, that's what it is.
That's why I didn't want to put on the hoodie, because of the jib shot.
Well, now you can put the hoodie on because it is freezing in this studio.
It's really cold where I'm sitting.
Very, very cold. You know why it's cold? Because it keeps this forehead from shining. All right, let's kick off with our first big news story today. It's about mutants. Who are they?
The New Mutants. In a new interview at IGN, the New Mutants director Josh Boone offered up some new details about his X-Men spin-off, revealing that not only the New Mutants movie a horror movie as shown in the newly released trailer, but that he has planned for 2 more movies that were a part of a planned trilogy of horror movies centered around the New Mutants. Talking about his initial pitch, Boone said, "We brought to Fox as a trilogy of films, really all based on that long run by Bill Sienkiewicz and
Sienkiewicz.
Say one more time, Sienkiewicz. All right, sorry. Wow. Okay, moving on.
You're saying it wrong.
Sienkiewicz, and kind of incorporates some stuff from later issues in the 80s. These are all going to be horror movies, and they're all be their own distinct kind of horror movies. This is certainly the rubber reality supernatural horror movie. The next one will be a completely different kind of horror movie. Our take was just go examine the horror genre through comic book movies and make each one its own distinct sort of horror film, drawing from the big events that we love in the comics." Ellis, what do you think about a trilogy of horror movies set in the X-Men universe for the New Mutants?
Well, after seeing that trailer, I would say sold on the rubber reality horror movie that we're going to get. And as far as the New Mutants go, because they're so young and just discovering their powers, you would assume that they want these to unfold over multiple flicks. And so if you have a slightly different style, I'm not going to say that New Mutants is a straight horror movie. I don't think it's going to feel like Paranormal Activity or The Conjuring, but if you incorporate horror elements into a superhero movie, I think that's what I think that's something that audiences would respond to, Schnepp. I think that's something that we necessarily haven't gotten. We've gotten little dashes of it, but if we get more of a horror construct with mutant characters, that could be the best of both worlds. If you love superhero movies, but you also want maybe not necessarily a good scare. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of jump scares in this movie, but the horror element we're looking at is maybe more psychological as far as what we're going up against with these characters that hopefully we're going to come to love by the end of the trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of them going into this film as a trilogy, like set it all up, and to do it as a set of horror films is especially exciting and surprising and unique in the superhero genre. So what better place to do it with than Chris Claremont and Bill Sienkiewicz's New Mutants. I was just like overlooking John Rocha just got the entire run on Comixology. I was like, look at all those covers.
Yep.
I mean, the art alone is it's a psychological horror comic book, and that's what they were writing. So it's so great to see that, and then them take that the source material, and I'm sure they're not going to adapt it completely the way the comic books are, because they can't. So I feel like what he's doing is he's taking some of the best elements of the horror elements from those comics and bringing them in. I can't wait to see this film.
I would like to applaud you for paying attention during the show. Rocha, if you're not too busy reading your talking picture books, you want to weigh in on New Mutants?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, no, listen, this is a great idea. I love that Josh Boone already has. Usually like with Mark and I talked about this before, like we don't like someone announcing they're going to do a trilogy or 5 or 6 films. Make the first one work. But we can tell already from this trailer, this looks like they're going in that direction really powerfully and well. And we saw already with Logan, Deadpool, we've mentioned this before. Fox is doing this whole. It's almost like they didn't announce they were doing an alternate universe or a reboot. They're just like, we're just readjusting how we're going towards this. And I like that they're doing this. And there's so much in this run that you can play with. There's zombies, a lot of. I mean, Dark Phoenix shows up. Professor X gets shot and killed. There's so much that can happen. Yeah, all this with
Legion.
Yeah, Legion showing up. Like so, there's so much they can play. I mean, if they brought in Andrew Stevens down the line as Legion from the FX series, that would be so awesome. So it's very, and then they have to confront the death of their parents, especially with the Demon Bear aspect of it all. So there's a lot of psychological horror. So yeah, I agree with you, Mark. There's not going to be jump scares. It's going to be something deeper, something that can resonate with you longer. And we know this about the X-Men franchise. If there's anything about the X-Men characters that's great, is that they hold on to their pain for a long, long, long time. And it motivates everything they do through multiple movies. And we saw that come to a head with Logan. In the ending of Logan.
Yeah, I don't mind when a studio or a director has a planned trilogy in their head, Wendy. What upsets me is when the studio makes a huge deal about, oh, we got 6 movies planned in this world. And they have like a carnival for it and balloons and a petting zoo and like the inflator guys at like the car dealerships. We don't need all of that. We just want you to have a direction that your movie's going in. So if you're going to tell this story in a horror element, I kind of like that it's not just going to be this version of a horror movie that we get with the first New Mutants, but they have different angles that they want to take.
No, I agree with you, and I love that we're finally getting like a superhero mixed with horror movies, because it's something I haven't seen before, not until I saw this trailer. And I know we've all talked about it on Heroes and on Movie Talk, and somebody's like, how come you don't remember? Because I think I mentioned, like, I was like, I can't believe they're doing a horror movie version of it, but it's intriguing and it's interesting, but I wish they kept it under wraps. I don't feel like they need to announce, like you guys already said, oh, we're gonna make it a trilogy. Everything is a trilogy these days. Everything is a saga. Let us have one, let us eat it up, and then when you're at the peak of everybody saying more, 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 you say, drop the mic. Yeah, we're gonna give you more. Do it then.
It's all about trilogies these days, kids. Schnepp, what's a good run for the kids if they want to check out New Mutants for the first time?
It's definitely, I would say, start with the Demon Bear saga.
Yeah.
I think it's
you hear Demon Bear, and I'm already, my ears perk up.
Yeah.
Well, it's I think it's issues. I want to say 18 to 20.
18 to 35.
18 to 35.
And you can, if you want to buy them, you can get them on Amazon or Comixology. Like Amazon has them as volumes, so Volume 3 and Volume 4 of New Mutants. Buy those. Those are the runs. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly the ones to start with. And I'll say this: for them to announce a trilogy, I think it's kind of cool for at least the New Mutants fans, because some of the characters from this run, like Warlock, Karma, they're not in there.
Yeah.
And a lot of fans were like, "How come they're not in there?" And I feel like for him to say like, "Hey, we're going to introduce those characters in the second movie," is why he ended up saying, "Look, we were planning a trilogy. Relax," because he was already getting heat from a lot of the super nerds who were like, "Where's Karma?" You know, like, "I want my biomechanical creature." Warlock is this crazy AI thing, who's awesome. And it's like, I think Bill probably my guess is Bill was like, I came up with this character so I could draw these crazy, like insane, super abstract AI stuff. So.
Yeah, well, New Mutants comes out in theaters on April 13th in 2018. Or if you want to check out that run of New Mutants in the comic issues, just hang out with John Rocha at Panera. He's more than happy to have a conversation with you because he loves meeting strangers. All right, Wendy, what's our next story?
Stranger danger.
I just have candy. I just have candy.
Whoa.
Whoa, too far.
Wow. Did he have a van? All right.
Just
that's
go
too
ahead and
far.
turn off all the lights in the studio. We're done for today. I'm going to wrap it up here.
Moving on, Variety is reporting that Netflix has a plan for its original program of films, and is an ambitious one at that. The streaming service plans to release 80 original films in 2018. This, according to Chief Content Officer Ted Sarandos. The films on the docket range anywhere from $1 million Sundance hits all the way to something much larger, like Will Smith's Star Bright, directed by David Ayer. Netflix also revealed on Monday that they plan on spending between $7 billion and $8 billion in 2018, a figure that is up from $6 billion they spent this past year. Rocha, what do you make of Netflix debuting 80 original films in 2018?
Well, we're not even speaking the entire truth. It's not just 80 original films. It's 30 new anime series as well. So that's 110 original pieces of content that they're trying to produce in the calendar year of 2018. Wow. And this is incredible because I was doing a bit of research on this. Wall Street is over the moon about Netflix. They've added 5.3 million subscribers in the third quarter, compared with their expectations of only 4.5 million. And so this includes international growth. So they understand that content is starting to leave. With Disney doing what they're doing, with other studios talking about starting their own channels, Netflix knows they have to do original content, and they're getting one step ahead of these studios who are going to pull their content because they don't want to be beholden to these studios. It's a power move. It's a strong move, and it's a move done from a position of power, which makes sense. You're not desperate. You're not saying, no, don't leave. We'll create neutral content. No, they're going, we know you might leave. We're going to do our own thing. And they're not afraid to spend money, which tells you they've got a lot of solid investors. And no one talks about like how many billions are involved here. But if Wall Street is talking about you in a positive way, it means your business model is working, and it means you are getting far ahead. And this was just a streaming service just a few years ago that people were like, well, I don't know, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? And look how much it's increased. And they're smart about increasing their rates too, because they're only increasing by like $1 per month, so that doesn't make you go crazy. And then they're increasing the 4K to $14 as opposed to $12. So it's a smart thing, and they call this thing quote unquote escape velocity. And that tells you, because that's something from physics, is the minimum speed needed for an object to escape the gravitational influence of a massive body. And that would be the studios. So that's what Netflix is doing. Netflix is separating themselves and creating their own studio. And they saw what Amazon Studios did with Manchester by the Sea, winning Oscars for that. So they're like, we can do this too. So all of this is incredibly intelligent. It seems overwhelming, but it's a smart business move. And I think Netflix has made all the right steps up to this point.
You had me.
Oh.
And then what was the science term? It was great.
Escape velocity.
Yeah, what you just said was tremendous. You incorporated Wall Street. We went into the science room for a little bit. And then we came out with a very eloquent point that I happen to agree with from what I understand. And that is that for a company that was reported to be like $20 billion in the hole last year, they're really doing well. And this is Netflix looking at the year 2018. It's not a make or break year for them, but this is the year that they know that they have to put maximum effort into getting a lead on Disney before their streaming service comes out in 2019. Netflix knows that in order to keep all of their subscribers and to gain new ones, you have to have original content that people want to come to your place for because they can't get it anywhere else. That's what Disney's going to be focusing on. That's why Disney is taking their content off other platforms before their streaming service launches in a couple years. So Netflix not only launching original content, but like you said, they have TV shows, they have anime. Now with the movie division, you have guys like Martin Scorsese and Will Smith. You have big names that are going to be debuting in films that you can only catch on Netflix. So it's the right play for this company right now. 80 films is a lot, and I don't know if they're all going to be good. I don't know if I'm going to see any of them, but I'm looking forward to the fact that Netflix is becoming an even bigger player in the game because all of the original stuff that they've put out, from what I've seen, I really enjoy, Schnepp.
Yeah, I mean, that's mind-boggling. 80 films, that's more than one a week. That's like how many? Like 1.5 every week. And did you say 30 anime series?
Yeah. Because I mean, they just launched New Yokio, which is their original anime series. So they're invested in this.
It's mind-boggling. I think it's smart though. I mean, because they're already ahead of the game with all these people who are trying to get streaming services going and whatnot. And now Disney basically pulling a lot of their content that was kind of flavored and it's gonna drop on Netflix first. They're Marvel and DC or Marvel and Star Wars stuff. So I think that's the smart play. It's like, go ahead and go start your new streaming service. We'll already have like stuff that's just like it, maybe, but from our own, like a different brand. I'm sure they're reaching out to other science fiction properties, other superhero properties to brand themselves for 2019.
Wendy, remember when Netflix was just that service that would send you some DVDs and then you packed it up and you sent it back and it was really exciting for everybody? Now cut to 2018 and they're going to be making 80 original films. What are your thoughts?
I am pretty excited about it. Just reading this story and seeing how much money they are spending, they're spending more than they did last year. It shows that they are confident in what they have and they're proud of what they have, and also that they're being smart to cover their butts because of what's going to happen with Disney. So like with Netflix, there's so much on there now, even just thinking about it, even when Disney does pull everything, like the only thing that I watch right now on Netflix that is Disney, I would guess it's like the Marvel stuff, if you want to count that as Disney. But I actually don't go on there and watch any of the Disney stuff because I own most of them. So I honestly don't feel like I'm going to feel affected when Disney pulled. I mean, I say that now, and then I'm going to be like in a corner, like, I need my Disney stuff, bring it back. But I think I'm proud of Netflix for doing this.
Here's what I love Schnepp's point is that because you have like 80, that's more than one movie a week, okay? So let's just be generous and say that Netflix is going to be up to 6 million total subscribers, right? Let's say that at the dawn of 2018, they have 6 million subscribers. Let's say that it's 7 million people watching because 1 million of their subscribers lent out their password to somebody else, like me, so you can watch for free. Is this too much content? Is it too much for a subscriber base like what they currently have to be able to watch everything? Are you going to inevitably poach your own viewership simply because not everybody has the time to be watching all of this original stuff that they're putting out, Schnepp?
You know, to me, no, it's not. And I'll say why. I mean, there are two other large creatures of the streaming services, Amazon and Hulu. So you take, basically you have the ABC, NBC, CBS of our world now. I mean, you have these three giant platforms and all these other people trying to, you know, bite off of it and hoping they can get, you know, oh, everyone has streaming services. Well, everyone doesn't want to spend that $5. I know it's just a coffee, but, you know, in the same sense, when you have like 40 coffees a day, you can't do that. So people are like, look, I'm going to have Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu. If you got up all of that content that's coming out, how do you even have time to have lunch? I mean, you don't have time to catch up on anything. I haven't even had a chance to watch Mindhunters, and I've been wanting to watch that. So I feel like, look, there's like, say 80 movies come out, maybe only 30 of them are going to be for me. And maybe 20 of them are for like kids, and 20 of them are for like, you know, all different kinds of genres that I'm not interested in. So I feel like if you split it that way, then look at it like they're basically having to split up their different genres and programming to also compete with not the new people who are threatening to do stuff in 2019 or 2018, but also the people who are right there next to them, Amazon and Hulu, who have a ton of content as well. Movies, television series that drop every week. It's endless. And you keep hearing like, did you see this? Did you see that? And you're like, no, what channel's that on? You're like, you're overwhelmed. There's so much content to see. So I don't feel it's a bad thing to say, look, we're doing 80 movies, because I know for sure, at least myself, at least 10 of those movies I'm going to enjoy.
Wendy, how many of those movies do you think you're actually going to be able to check out? How many do you think are going to garner your interest?
I mean, out of the 80, maybe 30. I think 30 is a good number. To think about like me actually watching through. First of all those 80 cannot be for someone in my demographic. Like a lot of those are going to be for kids. Granted, I would watch some of the kids stuff because I'm a kid at heart. But to think about spending the time to sit there and go through 80 movies, I don't have time for that. I wouldn't be able to do anything else.
Rocha, it is nice knowing that you're going to have 80 offerings in 2018 and you already paid for the movie ticket.
They're essentially trying to become a medium themselves, which is fascinating to watch. I mean, this is just germinating in my mind right now as we're talking about. They essentially want to replace TV as Netflix, replace movies as Netflix. You could say, I watch films, television, Netflix. Like, that's what they seem to be trying to do. They want to corner the market on this, and they're expanding. You know, we saw, it's almost like Ronin, that Frank Miller book. It's like the thing keeps expanding every panel at the end of every panel. That's what it feels like. This thing's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they increased their spending by $1 billion because of the third quarter earnings announcement that was yesterday. And they found that their shares rallied 64% in the calendar year. That's insane. And so it's so much. They're being bold about it, but it seems to me like they want to become a medium onto their own. And they want to replace cable, replace film, replace TV. You just do Netflix wherever you want to do it. And it's smart because you can take Netflix everywhere. You can't always take, and you know what? Cable systems have been trying to play catch up, and movies have been trying to play catch up. The reason we do VOD, the reason cable systems now can stream their content is because Netflix started that model and made it possible for people to take it with them. And people saw in other companies and other studios that people were doing that. And so it just makes sense.
Well, I think you're going to see Netflix be a lot more competitive as well with releases in theaters to compete against Amazon. So like you calling it a medium is definitely, it is the three giants right now kind of duking it out for, you know, serious control, and Netflix is still in the lead.
With Disney coming in 2019 and maybe being like the Fox, like the fourth major network. And then you also have that 2018 ESPN app that's going to be coming out where you can stream sports, and the NBA season tips off today. And I just don't know what to do with myself anymore. Speaking of Disney, they are going to be releasing some movies in theaters in 2018. And as you know, they run some Marvel stuff and they have some Star Wars stuff. And we have some breaking Star Wars news right now for you kids. The Han Solo movie, as yet untitled, no more. It is officially going to be called Solo, a Star Wars story. We have a title for the Han Solo movie, and we are going to be getting into some more Han Solo goodness later on in the show, but this is breaking news, and it's called Movie Talk. So, Wendy, you hear Solo, a Star Wars story. Is that the proper title for this picture?
No, it's not.
Ooh.
Solo, a Star Wars story? That is the boringest title I've ever heard.
The Haters Corner has come to the main desk, ladies and
Solo
gentlemen.
Haters Corner. I just think Han Solo is such an iconic character. I think he deserves more than Solo, a Star Wars story. And plus, we already saw Rogue One, a Star Wars story, so why are we reusing that again?
Well, I think they want to make it like an anthology that everything is going to be a
Right.
Star Wars story.
It's always
So
gonna be a Star
If
Wars
it's
story.
like Kenobi, a Star Wars story, or whatever it is, I mean, you do have to appreciate the fact that Star Wars realizes that not everybody is like us and does a daily movie talk show or follows the movie news on a daily basis. So if you put X and Y and Z, a Star Wars story in front of my mom, she's going to be like, what's this about? If you put Solo, a Star Wars story, there goes the interest, and it starts to peak, and it starts to be like, oh, wait, is this about Han Solo? And also, I've always loved the name Han Solo because it implies so much about the character. So if you call it Solo, a Star Wars story, it also means that he is a guy who likes to be on his own for the majority of his career before he decided to make the still questionable decision of joining the rebellion. So I'm a fan of this. This is how you title a movie that you want to gain as much interest and notoriety and acclaim as possible is Solo, a Star Wars story. Spells out for everybody what exactly it is, and I think it's the right play. How do you feel, Schnepp?
Well, they might have some litigation against Van Peebles' Solo film. I don't know if you're going to go into the
You
Wayback
remember
Machine.
this.
What's
I
up,
believe
son?
there was a sequel to Solo.
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah.
You know, let's get into that pre-action.
Mario Van Peebles, baby.
You know what I'm saying? Some people. That's why Mark rocks Fetch Schmodown. I have those little flavor nuggets, but he's like, oh yeah, got that sequel.
Hey, you know
son.
what? We could be a team in the Schmodown and call ourselves Posse.
Ooh.
It's another Mario Van Peebles movie.
Hey, you know what? I like Solo. I like Solo because, like, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, it had to be, like, no one knew what Rogue One is. It would be like, is it an X-Men character? It's like, there's a lot of problems by not saying a Star Wars story. Originally, it was a Star Wars anthology, and unfortunately, they did some kind of polling, and people didn't know what anthology meant.
Anthology? Is that like a box set?
I don't understand. What the ants are ants involved? No. Anyway, so it's a story. So some people are angry about the simplistic a Star Wars story, and then you just get used to it. Look, just like Star Wars is a weird title. Star Wars? What is this? So when you really break down anything, it sounds weird. Just like me.
John
so anyway,
Schnepp-
Solo.
Schnepp-
Yeah. So I love it. I love the title, and I agree with what you said. It has a lot of double meanings.
Wendy,
Rocha,
would you
stop
prefer
laughing.
that eventually they keep making these kind of movies that they just chop off the Star Wars story
I was
and
just
just
thinking
make
that.
it?
I was just thinking that. Fett, a Star Wars story. So not Chewbacca.
It would be Boba.
Baka.
Well, it would be
Star Wars story.
Baka. It would just a Chewie.
That sounds
a
something
Star
else.
Wars
In,
story.
that means something else in Japanese.
I think
so maybe we shouldn't say that.
Chewie would be the. Am I swearing in another
No,
language right now?
Baka means like idiot.
I would say, well, speaking of Baka, John Rocha, Solo, a Star Wars
There it
story.
is.
How do you feel about this title?
I want to see Pookie, a New Jack City story. That's my personal choice. We'll go Mario Van Peebles,
Well
mother
done.
effers.
Yeah.
But
Deep
listen,
cut.
here's the deal. I like it. It's to the point. I get Wendy's point, absolutely. But I like it. Solo, a Star Wars story. Boom. Get to the point. Let's get to the movie. I like it. It's not Han Solo, his trip among the stars, or the prequel of the world, or
Right.
any of that crap, that extra flowery crap that we don't need.
Trip amongst the stars.
like,
They did that in
whatever
the
it is.
original Bantam books. Remember
Yeah.
Han Solo at Star's End? And
Yeah,
they had a
yeah,
whole
all
bunch
that
of them with like
stuff.
Chewie on the cover.
That's what I
They're
remember.
cool.
Yeah.
But look, Solo. Let's do it.
And also it allows to you to understand it's his story, so he's going to be the central point of the whole film. It's going to be about him from beginning to end, and I like it. And it's to the point. And Solo is a strong word, so I like it. And so it gets to the point. And with all the turmoil this film has gone through, do something simple title, get to the point. Let's get to the movie. So I like it.
It's called Solo, a Star Wars story, not Han Solo, Star Wars story. So maybe we get to meet another
Ooh, yes.
Solo in this film. Maybe
Yes.
it's about more than one side. Just spitballing here. Anyway, that's going to be released in May of 2018. And we do have more Han Solo stuff to get to in a little bit. But right now, there's some movies that are opening in movie theaters across the country this weekend. Wendy, there's a storm happening because the weather satellites were attacked by aliens or the government, right?
It's a geostorm. After an unprecedented series of natural disasters threatened the planet, the world's leaders came together to create an intricate network of satellites to control the global climate and keep everyone safe. But now something has gone wrong. The system built to protect Earth is attacking it.
Oh my God.
And it becomes a race against the clock to uncover the real threat before a worldwide geostorm wipes out everything and everyone along with it.
I just took off my glasses like a scientist.
Yeah.
Also opening this week is Only the Brave. Through hope, determination,
Nice cutaway.
sacrifice, and the drive to protect families and communities, the Granite Mountain Hotshots become one of the most elite firefighting teams in the country. While most people run from danger, they run towards it, watching over our lives, homes, and everything people hold dear, forging a unique brotherhood that comes into focus with one fateful fire in Yarnell, Arizona.
Well, two slightly different movies. If you're talking about the Granite Mountain Hotshots, you're basing your film off a true story of real heroes that happen. And then with Geostorm, it's not quite that.
not good?
Geostorm did not screen for critics, so it is not based on a true story. I am going to go see Geostorm this weekend just because I got to do it. I got to do it. I'm going to be in Chicago, and I'm going to go see Geostorm this weekend. We're going to get a whole big bucket of popcorn and have a stupid good time at the movies. It's going to be moronic. It's going to be ridiculous. But my hesitation with something like Geostorm is that I think it feels like we're in a more cynical age than we were in the golden era, if you will, of disaster movies in recent memory, when you had your Armageddons and your Deep Impacts and your Independence Days. I know the 90s are known as like the grunge era when we rebelled against a lot of stuff, but it just felt like movies could be a little more ridiculous and dumb with stupid scientific premises that were somehow uplifting, and now we don't give them that credibility anymore. So Geostorm seems like a movie that should have come out 20 years ago.
Right.
And the trailers look stupid. The humor doesn't look like it's really going to hit, but I'm going to go see it. Only the Brave is a movie that I was not able to check out last night. I know they had a screening of it. So Only the Brave is something that I would love to see. My only hesitation with Only the Brave is that here in California, there's a lot of current wildfires going on that you see it in the news constantly, so you may not want to go to the movie theater if you're looking for an escape from that. Schnepp, Geostorm, Only the Brave. What are your thoughts about going to the movies this weekend?
Geostorm, if they had sharks all up in that tornado, I mean, this is probably one of the dumbest films. I remember cracking on this when they first announced it, and it's now we have, there's people who deny climate change, like who deny scientists, and that's in the real world. So I don't want to go see some idiot movie with like horrible stuff happening because the clowns who are in charge are making it happen in reality. So it kind of takes the fun out of going and see a stupid movie because we live in a stupid reality. Enough about this political stuff. Any of those crybabies are going, don't make political be about a movie. Geostorm is a political movie. Suck it. It's a big dumb movie with Gerard Butler like in a satellite. Like, come on, I would never believe that guy would be up on a spaceship. Let me open this dock and be like, look, dude, you're like a janitor,
Whoa.
Like that's what I'm saying. It'd be like a very muscular janitor. I don't believe that he's a scientist.
King Leonidas?
When I saw those trailers, I was just like, no. It's like I don't believe that he's a scientist. It did nothing. It's one of those like it's an '80s movie where you have like a strange muscular dude. It's like, I'm Dr. Flimscomp. How can I help? Here's the serum. There, I've unlocked the code. Smash! It's literally, it's like the dumbest cartoon that I'm never gonna see.
Yeah, I think in the real world you have a lot of guys that are jacked, that clearly have gym memberships, that run up to NASA and they're like, "Let me get in on this." They're like, "Oh, the line's over there." Just a bunch of ripped dudes. Like, can I try it? Can I try to re-upload the satellite configuration? Thanks for playing. We'll talk to a scientist about this. John Rocha, you're a man of science. Clearly, we saw it a couple segments ago. How do you feel about Geostorm?
You just explained 5 and under auditions all the time. A bunch of muscular guys walking in trying to say 2 lines. Listen, here's the deal. Geostorm, I have to go because it's my birthday weekend. My birthday's on Monday, so I always celebrate by seeing a terrible movie. I saw Jack Reacher's sequel last year, so this tradition. And we have a Latino president, Andy Garcia. I gotta go see this film. So, and Gerard Butler, he's like cornered the market on these things. Like Olympus has fallen, London has fallen. He likes to do these kind of cheesy little. And there's a new one coming out with him that I saw a trailer for the other day, and I was like, oh, I might go see that. All right, so, but
what is it called? Shitstorm?
No, he's chasing. It's basically Heat. It's Heat light. He's taking down these hardcore bank
I would
robbers.
love to see Gerard Butler in Shitstorm where he runs up to somebody. You can't put Doritos and Twinkies, and it's not. One tummy can't handle all of that.
That's right.
Is that 6 Taco Bell tacos?
They created a shitstorm.
No! Did you put
yeah.
double sour cream?
right.
Shitstorm.
Oh,
Listen,
man.
and but Only the Brave I saw last night with Perry Nemiroff. We're going to do our review later on today. I will say that I recommend it. I'd go see it. I think it's a very powerful film. It's not 100% what you would hope it would get to, but it's still very powerful with some really good performances from the actors in it. So,
All right, Wendy Lee, you're at the movies this weekend. You got your choice of Geostorm, Only the Brave. Which theater are you walking into?
The logical choice would be Only the Brave. The Wendy choice would be Geostorm because it looks so crappy and so horrible. And yes, I want to give my money to the theater because I love disaster movies. And this is just so beyond real that it's like hilarious. I feel like I'm just going to laugh it up the whole time.
All right, well, Geostorm and Only the Brave will be in theaters this weekend, and I'm in Chicago. I might have to do a poll because there's so many movies coming out this weekend, and I'm definitely seeing Geostorm. And then there's like 4 other movies that are going to be released, and so I'm probably only going to have time to check one of them out, so I might just do a poll, and then you all vote. And if you want to send me to see Only the Brave, you want to send me to see the Medea movie, whatever you all pick, I will go see it. I think I know how people are going to vote. All right, let's move on to buy or sell. We'll say whether we buy it or sell it and use our real hold. Well, I'm not going to use my money. We'll all use Rocha's money to buy or sell these news stories, the first of which is back in the world of a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
It looks as though Ron Howard is having a little fun at the expense of canon in his Star Wars spin-off featuring a young Han Solo. The director took to Twitter to share a photo of himself with 2 actors portraying Tag Greenlee and Bink Otana, better known as Tag and Bink, the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of the Star Wars universe, who first appear in the Star Wars Legends comic published by Dark Horse. The actors are Toby Haverman and Han Solo co-writer Joe Caston, who in the photo are donning Imperial officer uniforms. With an accompanied hashtag that reads Tag and Bink. Writer of the comic Kevin Rubio took to his own account to say, "Thanks for making the duo officially canon," with Caston then replying his thanks, confirming that it was the plan all along and had to get them in there. Schnepp, do you buy or sell Tag and Bink appearing in Solo, a Star Wars story?
I certainly buy it. I mean, Kevin Rubio is a pal of mine. He's also the guy who made Troops, which is one of the greatest and first fan films of Star Wars. So,
Troops is amazing. It's like stormtroopers as cops. Shout out to our boy Kevin Rubio.
Yeah, so to see a little flavor passed along, even if it's the expanded universe, even if it's a walk by, which is my guess is what it's going to be, because I don't think they're going to give. I don't think Kasdan was like, here, let me cast myself in this giant role. I think it's probably gonna. They'll both get a line, some kind of like maybe a little bit of a funny throwaway bit. And I think that's what Ron Howard is saying. Hey, check it out. Here's some expanded universe. I myself want to see Thrawn. I want to see a lot of other things from the Dark Horse run of Star Wars. Even I don't want to see the Green Rabbit. I'm not going to get that weird. But from the original Star Wars run of comics as well. So I think it's cool to start to slowly throw in a lot of these other what they call the legacy comic books, some of those, the expanded universe, whatever we want to call it now, and kind of throw that into the new Star Wars universe.
Yeah, I was a big fan of that original Star Wars run on Dark Horse, and then you've even seen it with the TV show Rebels, where they're willing to integrate some things that might have been considered expanded universe or Star Wars Legends or what have you, and incorporate that into canon. So there is a chance, if you look at all of them like they're just existing in this ether in some lost dimension, you can bring some of them back. And I don't think this is going to have a major part in Han Solo, but it is nice to see Lucasfilm occasionally give the okay. It's almost like that's the practice squad, Rocha. Like, okay, we have Thrawn on the practice squad. We have all these characters that we can call up at any time. He got the call up. These characters are getting a call up, and it might just mean that maybe in the future we do have something that is of a little more substance that we get to see in a Star Wars movie that maybe we thought wasn't going to be around.
Yeah, well, it lets us know that, like, I wonder if if this was a Lord and Miller idea as well. Like, it feels like the comedic aspect of their point of view might still be retained. And a lot of what they said after Ron Howard took over was that a majority of the film is going to stay intact. So hopefully either this was part of it or this is Ron Howard's idea. But either way, it's a brilliant idea. And I love, this is a great way to bring these characters in as canon. You bring them in like subtly and as a joke and playfully, and you add another element of enjoyment to the Solo movie. Let's let you know it's going to have a lot of humor. It's going to have a lot of levity. Of course, there'll be serious stuff and things he's going through and adventures, whatever. But what's great about Han Solo is that smirk. And what better thing to put in a film about Han Solo, rather, is the smirk kind of characters. And Rosencrantz and Guildenstern essentially are that. when people were playing beer pong, I was in the library reading Shakespeare. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern is Tom Stoppard's homage to Hamlet, and so Tag and Bink are brilliant. And if you've read this run, the covers alone are brilliant. The stories themselves are amazing. So, I mean, just that Leia cover where she's like pointing at, they're just brilliant. So there's so much about the Tag and Bink story that if they incorporate this, it'll work. And Hefferman's interesting. Hefferman's an AD. He was in Sweeney Todd, and he was in Rogue One, and these really, really small parts. So this is probably going to be something that's a little bit smaller as well. But they can start appearing now in all the solo.
Like the droids.
Yeah, like the droids. They essentially replaced the droids. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in other Star Wars stories if they're going to keep the anthology vibe to it.
Ain't nothing wrong with playing beer pong instead of going to the library, as long as you're winning. Wendy, what I love about this move is that if you need to change the narrative from what the Han Solo movie was, which is a dumpster fire. Oh, no, we lost a director. There's crew that we can't come back. Some actors' schedules are conflicting with reshoots. Most of the public at large doesn't really care about that or isn't even aware. But hardcore Star Wars fans have been following this story, and so the way you change the narrative is to appeal to us fans, is to give us these little nuggets of, oh, they really care now. Oh, look, they're taking characters from the expanded universe. So now that we have Tag and Bink, do you think that that's just giving a little morsel to the Star Wars fans for hanging in there on this Han Solo journey so far?
I think so. I think it's a nice treat for people who are into canon, who are into the extended universe. I am one of the ones who was not aware of Tag and Bink, but now look at it. I am a Star Wars fan, so now I'm going to research and look more into Tag and Bink. So I think this is hopefully going to be a nice gesture to the fans, the hardcore fans, and also help everyone else become more involved in the canon.
Kevin Rubio, thank you for making troops
Kevin
and everything
Rubio.
you've done since then, including this run of comics. We love you, buddy. Talk to you soon. Wendy Lee, let's do one more story, and then it's mailbag time.
All right, let's see if you buy and sell this one. THR reports that Angelina Jolie will star as one of the voices in The One and Only Ivan, Disney's live-action hybrid adaptation of the Newbery Medal-winning book written by Catherine Applegate and illustrated by Patricia Castillo. The movie will be helmed by Me Before You's Thea Sharrock and tells the story of a silverback gorilla named Ivan who lives in a cage in a shopping mall along with an elephant named Stella and a stray dog named Bob. Jolie will voice Stella. The studio will now begin casting to find actress who will play the janitor's daughter, a character who is key in helping save Ivan and Stella. No release date has been set at this time. Ellis, buy or sell Angelina Jolie voicing Stella in Disney's The One and Only Ivan?
I'll buy it. Oh my God, I can't watch this movie though. I don't want to see a silverback gorilla locked up in a mall because it's just. There is a gas station. I think you can still go to this gas station in the South somewhere. I was listening to a podcast about it where they had a tiger. Like the owners of the gas station just owned like a Bengal tiger, and I think it was called like Tiger Gas or whatever. Like, and so you'd go there and you'd fill up, but there was also like a tiger living in the cage. And it was like, it's cool to see a tiger up close, but it's also like, that tiger don't want to be in that cage. I don't want to see a silverback gorilla in this. I know it's like an animated movie, so I'll get over it. There are no shopping malls that I'm aware of that currently have silverback gorillas being held captive. So I just hope that this isn't like a Madagascar situation where like it takes like 9 movies to get these damn animals wrapped. I want this silverback gorilla to get out in the first 5 minutes of the movie and then go off on some crazy mall adventure. I don't want to be watching this poor thing in a cage for 80 minutes before it may or may not get out in the last 10 minutes. Rocha, take it away.
It's okay.
Silverback
It's
gorilla,
okay.
they're smarter than most people.
Yes, agreed. Yes. Well, the gorilla. Spoiler alert! I'm sure the gorilla's going to get out. The whole point of the movie is the gorilla getting out of the cage and getting because
I've
of the
seen
elephant.
Disney movies where they like to do
True.
some awful things to who we thought were going to be. Ask Bambi's mom how that turned out.
Well, the thing is, the silverback gorilla doesn't remember being in the wild or in the circus rather, and then the elephant comes and it sparks the memories, and that's what inspires this whole escape and everything that's going to happen with this. So I like it, and Jolie was fantastic doing the voice in Kung Fu Panda of Tigress. So I love her, and this is her way to stay connected to Disney with Maleficent, and also she's a producer on this, so I buy it completely. She does great voiceover work, so I'm excited to this, and I love this story, so I'm excited to see how they bring it out. And it's a hybrid, so it's going to be live action and animated, so that'll be fun to see the combination.
Oh dear God! Don't, Wendy. I can't see a live action silverback. I don't even want
Hybrid,
a CGI.
hybrid.
I don't even want a CGI silverback gorilla. I don't even want to see Andy Serkis play one in a mall in a cage. How do you feel about this flick?
This movie sounds so sad. Why are they in a shopping mall, and why is there a stray dog in there with them? Like, this is, I mean, it's Disney, so you know it's going to be heartwarming, but if there's anything I've learned from movies like Up, I'm going to be bawling the entire movie probably because it has animals involved. a gorilla nonetheless. But Angelina Jolie has a great voice. And I remember she voiced, is it the tiger in Tigress in the Panda movie, the Panda movie, Kung Fu Panda. So I look forward to her doing more voiceover. I find her voice really soothing, and I want her to read an audiobook.
Yeah, she's doing the voice of Stella. Stella, you get in there and you act like Angelina Jolie in Wanted, okay? You get in there, you take care of business, you get that gorilla out of the cage. Schnepp?
Stella! Stella! I seriously hope that's in the movie.
It's gotta be.
You know what? I still sometimes do it. It's called the silverback when I'm at a comic book convention because I'm tall and I could kind of see little spots amongst all the smaller people who's everybody. So I could just kind of run strange and crazy style because I could see little areas, and then people walking towards me see a giant weird creature running towards them, so they kind of freeze, and that makes me able to run through crowds. And I call it silverbacking.
I got to
Has
coast
nothing to do
on
with
the
this
wake
movie.
of a silverbacking by you at the New York Comic Con.
That's right.
I got lost in the wash. I got stuck behind somebody's like carrying some huge thing they just bought. But Schnepp is just he's like Barry Sanders. He's just moving around.
Well, see, because you see the little like the holes in the gaps in between like somebody with a giant backpack and a baby carriage. You're like, I'm getting through there.
Yeah, I got lost in the baby carriage.
I cannot wait to see this film. I hope they're able to keep some of this. Are you saying it's going to be live action, sort of like Paddington?
Yeah.
All right, so it's not going to look at
little.
all like this. I was like, I really love this this cartoon, this animated style look. But if it's done in the way like Paddington, get ready to start crying. Because yeah, you're right. It's like see a little elephant and a cute little silverback with a sad dog named Bob in a weird cage, like crammed. I'm sure they're going to have a spacious, like beautiful cage. Maybe not.
Hey,
It's an abusive owner. So.
Oh my God!
It's
You
an
know,
abusive owner.
this
There's
story
no-
may have made me emotional, but somebody else is going to get emotional later on today, and that is Stacey Howard. When I take you down in the Ultimate
Burn.
Schmodown,
Ow.
Baby Carrots is back, ladies and gentlemen. Check out my match versus Stacey Howard in a mere matter of hours. It's all going down right here on Collider Video. We also have TV Talk and Heroes going up later today. An awesome tacular with Jeremy Johns every Friday. You can check that out. There's a link to the latest episode in this vid's description. Without further ado, let's move on to Mailbag. I do want to remind you guys at the end of the show, we're going to take a couple live Twitter questions, so you can tweet us at Collider Video. Wendy, we have a mailbox. The red flag thing is up.
All right, and this one comes from Charleston Thomas, who writes, "Good afternoon, Collider." I guess it should be good morning. "I am a huge comic books fan, and I especially love the MCU, but I often hear people on the internet criticizing Marvel for having too much humor. But should humor even matter in a movie? Doesn't a comic book film just need a good story with or without humor? Thanks."
Thank you, Charleston Thomas. Yeah, I mean, humor does matter in a movie from the standpoint of if it fits that story that you're talking about. We want a good story first and foremost, and I think sometimes you can have a film that has a great story, and then they just try to pepper in too much humor, and it takes away the emotional core of the film sometimes, because what humor is sometimes guilty of is making us feel like there aren't as many stakes in the film. And when you have a dark and gritty superhero movie, it's like everything is so serious, we got to get this mission done. And then you see a team like the Avengers, and they're fighting people and they're cracking jokes, and it's like, well, are you guys even taking this seriously? But I think the MCU has been able to utilize humor very well in a film, and that's something that I'm looking forward to tonight with Thor Ragnarok. So I think whether you do have a lot of humor, you have no humor at all, if it fits the story, then I'm happy to have it or lose it. Rocha, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, if it works for the story, that's always the integral part. Like people say, "Oh, you don't want to do dark films." No, if you do a good dark film, no one cares that it's dark. It's good. That's what matters. And you should stop reading people. I bet you a majority of those people you're reading are DC lovers trying to destroy Marvel. And so, like, don't listen to that stuff. The humor.
Are you starting
works.
a war here?
For me, you come at me, bro. And so, like, to me, these issues bother me a lot because this is the criticism that you hear about Marvel. And the truth is, those films are enjoyable because of the humor, not in spite of the humor. Yes, do they always get it right? No, they don't always get it right. Sometimes, like the beginning of Avengers Age of Ultron, little too forced, right? There's some moments in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, little too forced. But a majority of the time, they get it right. That's not fake news. They get it right. So I enjoy humor in the Marvel films. I think that's what decorates those films so well. The action's already well done. It's the humor. And what we're seeing with Thor Ragnarok in those trailers, what am I gravitating to? Both the action and the humor in those trailers. So that's what they do really well. And and I hope other people follow suit. And some of the humor in Wonder Woman was great. We enjoyed some of the humor in that. So when you do humor and action well, people like it.
Schnepp, the guy's done stand-up twice, and he already knows the importance of humor. I like this kid, Rocha. How do you feel about humor in movies?
I was going to say language, Rocha.
Oh, I apologize.
Language.
I apologize.
That's a little callback to Captain America, which, felt a little forced, got to be honest.
Oh.
Hey, what's going on? Humor is great. We all love to laugh. And, you know, what do you do if you don't laugh? Like Pagliacci, you cry. What is the flip side of humor? It's darkness and sadness. I have nothing. I can add nothing. Look.
Hope that gorilla got some good jokes in that cage.
Take it way
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
You know, I think the Marvel sense of humor is great, and I don't think you could really compare it. I wouldn't say it's versus. It wouldn't be a DC versus Marvel type thing. I think there's been plenty of humor, like you said, in Wonder Woman and in all the other films. They've added senses, little jokes here and there. Yeah. Look, is Thor Ragnarok going to be a yak fest? Like everybody's, I don't think it's a comedy film. It's an action adventure, but there's going to be a lot of comedy in it, and I think that helps relieve some of the tension, and it sets things up. And just like in horror films where you have those jump scares, I feel like in action films, to keep things from being too repetitious and whatnot, they're able to add different kind of story beats. And I feel like by adding little peppery jokes, especially with someone like Chris Hemsworth, who's proven himself to be incredibly funny, I think that version of Thor that we're going to see tonight hopefully is the Thor that keeps going.
Yeah, Wendy, we're hearing a lot of people who have seen Thor Ragnarok already say it might be the funniest MCU movie to date, which is a high bar. Do you think it's going to be too funny?
I hope it's not too funny. I hope it's just right, because like that was my problem with Guardians 2, was that I walked in really liking it because the first one had a lot of humor, but it was just enough for me. I thought the second one, they were like, hey guys, we had a really funny movie. Let's try to be really funny on this one. It didn't need to be. So I get Charleston's like point. It's like, do you necessarily need a humor in a comic book movie? No. But is it nice to have? Yes, but only if the timing and the delivery is right. Because like just Man of Steel, I think personally to me didn't have a lot of humor, but it still worked for me. I liked it a lot.
All right, let's move on to live Twitter questions. This is part of the show where you guys have tweeted us right in real time, probably 5 minutes ago, and Wendy has done us the favor of picking out a couple great ones from the internet, if there is such a thing. What do we got?
Is there such a thing?
We're about to find out. I'm nervous.
Here we go. The first one comes from Phil Fanfoom, who writes, how can you pinpoint what didn't work in a movie with so many moving parts? For example, editing, producer, directors, and etc.
Well, to be honest with you, a lot of times we're wrong. A lot of times we're like, oh, man, that scriptwriter sucked, and it might have not been his call or her call. It might have been the director's call at the end to change the line, but we're just going to pin it on what we as the audience know to be fact, is that there's a person that writes the movie, there's a person that points the camera, there's a person that's in front of the camera, and that's usually who we pin it on, and a lot of times it is very unfairly blamed. But when you sign up to work on a movie and you get the title of writer or producer or director or cinematographer or best boy grip or actor or actress, part of what you're signing up for is the criticism or the praise that gets associated with that. So a lot of times, if you put it in sports terms, it's not the quarterback's fault whether you win or lose a game, but at the end of the day, it's your job to get that W, and if you didn't do it, then I think rightfully so, Rocha, some of that is going to fall on you. Do you think that we are accurate in our assessment most of the times as far as who's to blame?
Well, one of the reasons why we do this is because we are accurate for the most part, because we've analyzed and studied films the majority of our lives, and we have a special affinity for them. So we read books, we read other people's reviewers, we read other people's reviews, rather. We understand how film works. And someone like Perry Nemiroff went back to college in graduate to get a film degree so she could be a better film critic, film analyst. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the kind of level of attention people have for this. I'm always reading new reviews. I'm always reading like books about this kind of stuff because I want to understand how everything works. One of the reasons we do with the Cinephiles is that my friend Steve is a director, is a filmmaker. He understands all the technical aspects of film. I don't gravitate to that because I'm an actor. I'm more about script and motivation and storyline. So, but there's so much involved. So yeah, you can break down, if you understand how to break down film, then you'll figure out, it'll become organic and instinctive to you if you have an affinity for it to understand what's working and what's not working. And Ellis is right. Sometimes you blame the script, but sometimes the script's gone through 10 people who are credited and like another 10 who aren't credited. There's a lot of ghostwriters. Patton Oswalt made a living for years as a ghostwriter of screenplays. So you just never know what's going to go with that. But when you look at the technical aspects of the film, that's when you understand. The director is the end-all, be-all in all this. Sometimes it's the editor. Sometimes the executive producer or the executive at the studio that decides what gets cut. We see that happen with the DC movies recently, how they put them together. So there's a lot of moving parts, you're right. So read a lot, understand it, and then make your own decisions as you watch films. It'll come to you naturally if you have an ability for it.
Schnepp, you're a director, so it's your fault, right?
Yes, I think in the film world, the director gets to take the blame or the
Yeah.
credit, and in the TV world, it's usually the writer or the showrunner or the creator of the show that gets to take the blame or the credit. So, but in the reality world, it's everybody working together. When you see strange disjunctive edits or like, this character just disappeared from this film, that happens a lot, and those are usually unfortunate sacrifices of where, we had this script and, all this character was shot within all these scenes, but we couldn't finish his story, other would be a 3-hour movie. So there's no way to like minimize that character within the main scenes, but any of the side scenes they were in, and in fact the ending or the resolution of that character is usually on the cutting room floor. That happens with a lot of actors and actresses, including bit parts, all the way up to almost secondary characters, supporting characters. So editing is a real tough job. Every single facet of the production world of making films and television is tough and requires a lot of work. I've edited over 100 different projects, from TV shows to movies to commercials. As an editor, or as well as a writer, editor, producer, director, in all different facets, I've worked under different directors, under different producers. And, like I said, it runs the gamut of who's making decisions. Some directors are just, here's all the footage, cut it together. And then you show them, like, you basically put the entire thing together, and they're like, cool, just change that one shot and I'm done. And that's because the director is like, sometimes they work as a managerial type of situation where they're overseeing all these different people running the boat and then putting it together to create the final product. There's other people I've worked with who are like sitting there with you and like looking at every shot and like examining it with you and like, hey, I think this would work better if we open it this way. And that's the kind of person I like to work with. Somebody who's just like there with me, working on the thing. Or it's got to be the total opposite. It's got to be like, just let me do it and then come in and check it out. So, I mean, so people are in the middle somewhere are the ones that are difficult. So.
That's the kind of director I'll be. You go do it, and I'll put my name on it.
There you go.
Wendy, luckily, we always have that big, bad, evil thing to blame, which is the studio. Maybe, do we blame the studio too much or too little, or are we pinning it too much on directors or writers?
I mean, there's just, like everybody said, there's so many moving parts. I think it's easy for a film, if we're talking about film, I think it's easy to pinpoint it at the director because his name is on the movie. When you go in the credits, it's like, bye, Jon Schnepp. I'm just going to throw you under the bus here. So, but I think we have to really examine the editing. Like, sometimes the director isn't always in control of the editing. Sometimes the producer has a lot to say. The executive producer has a lot to say. Sometimes the actor doesn't give their all that day, and everything falls flat, and they're just kind of like, I can't use any of the shots. The weather, you know what I mean? There's so many things, and I think the best thing to do, instead of immediately saying, boo, the director sucks, I hope he or she never works in this industry again, which is a terrible thing to say to anybody, research, read about it, get the whole story, and then, come to your own final thoughts with that.
I blame Rotten Tomatoes. No, I actually really enjoy what Rotten Tomatoes does, and I hopefully will enjoy what Thor Ragnarok does tonight when we all go check it out. Jamo's going to have a review up. I believe there is a non-spoiler review up already for Thor Ragnarok on this here channel, so stay tuned to our various YouTube outlets for more Thor Ragnarok coverage later in the week. I want to thank everybody behind the scenes as well as up here on the table with me. First and foremost, Mr. Jon Schnepp. Where can the kids find you and your directing sensibility?
Well, you can find my directing sensibilities with tons of clips. You can watch my ABCs of Death on Netflix. You watch Metalocalypse on Hulu. You can watch a ton of different stuff I've worked on all the different flavory streaming universes that exist. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram just at Jon Schnepp, and Heroes later today, as well as the Stanley LA Comic-Con. We're going to have a couple of panels, so check it out.
Yeah, switching things up, Wendy Lee Zaney. Where can the kids find you?
You can find me and my Loki shirt at the Thor Ragnarok screening tonight, also on YouTube at the Movie Couple channel, at Wendy Lee Zaney on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat.
And I think that does it for everybody on the...
That's good.
Oh, hey, what's it? Stephen Rocha. Where can everybody find you when you're not reading your comic books at Panera?
You can find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram, and then later on, find me today on TV Talk with Josh Boone and Grace Hancock. A lot of stuff to talk about last night with Supergirl and The Gifted.
I'm so proud of all you kids. As for me, well, I guess I just go back to my cage in the mall and smell Sbarro and Chick-fil-A and Orange Julius and all those great locations.
Oh, Silverback.
I'll be in Chicago this weekend at Zany's Telling Jokes Thursday through Saturday, and get tickets at my website, markellislive.com. Cannot wait to come back to Chicago and get a deep dish pie at
Leona's.
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 Not Lou Malnati's, because I've been to Lou Malnati's and it's fantastic.
You're there for a couple days. Go to a bunch of places. Get that deep dish.
I would like to not eat deep dish pizza every day.
I think you should every day.
Why not? That's the life.
Yeah, but then they're going to make a Gerard Butler movie that is the sequel to Geostorm that I don't want to get in.
Pizza Storm?
Too much
It
tomato
started out
sauce.
as a pizza storm. It turned into something else entirely.
Shitstorm.
Dear God. Thank you all for tuning in to Collider Movie Talk. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow for another episode. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Bye. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.